Hi, Chris Vasquez. So April 30th, I'm explaining how two detectives from Mount Vernon came to my house while I was around here, telling my wife that I made some threats about to the school district, that I'm going to shoot up the school district. So this is what happened first. That I'm going to specifically, I'm going to shoot up the school district. I don't, I can't even. I don't own a gun. I can't even use a gun. My ligaments, my index fingers are ripped, so I can't pull a trigger. I go to the precinct. I access
Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon
Okay.
precinct. Yeah, it's across the street from the Mount Vernon Teacher Union building.
Okay.
And I wait. I see both of the detectives, and I start talking to the detectives, and I tell them, the first thing I mention is, my uncle's names, because one is an ex-sergeant, the other is a retired detective. Not to pull names out of a hat to say, just to show them that, look, out of respect to my family, I would never make a threat like this, and out of respect and love to my students, I would never put any of them in harm's way. And they said, well, we were concerned of the pulse. And they said, well, can you show me the pulse you're talking about?
Right.
They said, well, we'll get it. So one detective left to go get it, and the other detective telling me how it's a resource officer within the school that brought it to their attention. So I put two together. I said, all right, so it's an officer that's inside the school that put this together. They don't want me on the premises because on May 1st, that's the board meeting. So if they don't want me on the premises and they spin this, that means I can't publicly go to the Board of Ed meeting to present my rebuttal verbally.
Okay.
Stating X, Y, and Z, why I should not be dehired.
So now, did they fire you or let you go on paid leave, or
that's these papers here that I'm going to show you. At first, they let me go on paid leave.
And teachers, you don't have tenure. Teachers without tenure don't get paid leave, right? Is that true? Or
That I don't know.
Okay.
Teachers without tenure don't get to due process, meaning
right.
that, I can't have the union fight it. I can't get appointed a lawyer.
Okay.
I could breathe. A teacher without tenure could breathe the wrong way and could be dehired.
Okay.
So then they show me the post. The post is from February 17th. Mind you, they started the termination process March 19th. It's April 30th that they come to my house. So this is a post that's 3 months old.
Okay.
In the post, I'm actually talking about protests and not arming teachers, because this is after what happened in Parkland.
When they were talking about, the president said teachers need to be armed.
That's right. And I was against that.
Right.
And in the post, I shared something from Charlotte Danielson talking about what is the different ratings for teachers, and if I was to ever get an ineffective, or a teacher that will get an ineffective that has access to a gun might lose it.
Right.
They might shoot somebody.
Right.
You don't want to give stressed out individuals access to weapons.
Right.
And teachers are completely under a lot of pressure and stress. So this
Plus, you have systematic racism. As well.
That is a huge issue, and I experienced that in the school. We'll get into that, and I could show you some conversations that I mentioned to you a minute ago.
Yeah.
Before I got here, about the regents.
Yeah.
In that post, I have a number of hearts, a number of emoji comments with the laughing emoji, and individuals commenting. I told the detectives, I was like, if this was a truly threatening post, you should have read the comments, because the people that are commenting, that are part of my Facebook, that are associated with my Facebook, are high-ranking members in the UFT and the New York City Teachers Union, other really experienced teachers that are highly effective and effective, union members in the NYSUT, union members in the Moore Caucus. So these are individuals that are well respected in their field, that are commenting under this and understand that this is taken lightly. At any point, if that was truly a threat, any one of those individuals could have easily reported it and say, you know what, there's an issue with Mr. Vasquez.
Right.
So in that post, I never said I was going to hurt anyone, never said I was going to shoot anyone. you know, and the individual surrounding that post itself, you know, could have said something.
Right.
You know, to come back on April 30th and to dig up something that's 3 months and totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting, you know, I keep a relationship with all my students.
Right.
You know, I help tutor them now, even
Right.
though I'm not being paid for it or employed by Mount Vernon.
Right.
You know, I want them to succeed.
Okay.
You know,
You know, you taught but science, right?
I only teach science,
Okay.
earth science.
Okay.
That day on April 30th, you know, the students didn't know anything about it. But on May 1st, all the students started messaging me. The guards are telling us that you're going to shoot the school up. One of my teachers said, I could show you the text. One of my teachers said, Mr. So-and-so, if you see Mr. Vasquez, run. You know? Yeah. You know, to put that much dirt on my name, that's fine. Leave our students out of it, because these are students that I helped for the past 2 years. Students that trust me, students that love me, students that I have friendships with.
Right.
You know, that believe in me, that they're comfortable enough to call me and say, you know, we have this issue. I need help with this class. Can you help me?
Right.
You know, don't do that. And then when you showed me that link and you showed me that email was a totally 360 degree from what the teachers, the security, and the staff of Mount Vernon was telling their students.
But they said also the reason they did it because if to let go, you came back in disguise or something. So that's why they had to do the thing with one entrance and all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. The true agenda was to keep me out of the board of meeting, the board of ed meeting, because to have me there, verbally recorded, debating what they're saying, policies, state laws that are being broken, that's not a good look. So the only way they could keep me away from that is by saying, look, if you trespass on the any board of ed property, we're going to arrest you. By sending detectives, that now they could have. This is a resource officer that's in Mount Vernon. They have access to my cell number. They have access to my email. They could have just called me up, verbally said, look, what's the deal with this threat? Can you come in?
Right.
But to pay me a visit, that's intimidation. That's not.
At your house or
at my house?
Okay.
That's intimidation. You know, while I was there, they were trying to arrest me because I came to Mount Vernon to sign my medical papers, to renew my health insurance. They were trying to look for a reason. So, well, is there any? Oh, what's up? The champ is here. How you doing?
How you doing? Sorry.
Pause. So we stopped, we paused because the student passed by the house and had words of encouragement for the teacher. And I didn't want to have the student in the interview. So now we're back.
Yes,
we're
you know,
back.
but you see, that's up.
Yeah.
You know, if I wasn't true to the students, if I wasn't there for the students, that would never happen.
Right.
Hey, what's up, Mr. And that's it.
Yeah.
But look,
Because he gave you love, came up, spoke to you, and the whole nine, wanted to know what was going on.
so when I was in the process of being dehired, during this period, I was reassigned home, and I'm not permitted to any school district property since March 19th.
Okay.
The reason for that is so I will not be able to tell and talk to other individuals about what was going on. You know, before we even get to the regions, because that's a new issue, and that's a big issue. You know.
But now the reason, the title of the page is Disgruntled Employee or Targeted Whistleblower, question mark. And I understand that, you know, you had some proof of some improprieties going on, and that was an issue.
So that's been an issue since November. You know, I came into some information, and I've been making a lot of noise. I was like, you don't do this. This is wrong. You know, and it's bigger than just the food. It's a lot of issues, and because I kept revisiting that and kept making noise again, I'm on tenure. You know, the other issues, the other.
Now, for people that know, what does tenure mean, and how long does it take to get tenure? So.
Okay, so what tenure means is that you're given certain rights from the state. from the union, and one of the biggest rights that we're going to just talk about is due process. So if you're in a position where you're getting a disciplining charge, or you're going to get a discharge, or you're going to get a 30/20A, or any time that the administration, the district, or school wants to dehire you, that's just a fancy word for being fired. The union could step in, and because of your benefits, could provide you a lawyer, will provide you representation throughout each and every step. To get tenure in the old days, it would take a minimum of 3 years. Recently, in the past 5 years or the past 4 years, they changed that process to make it from 3 years to 4 years. Even then, it's still hard to get tenure because they could put you on probation for each additional year after that. So you may work as a New York State teacher up to like 8 years without ever reaching tenure, even though you're an effective teacher. So it's an attack on teachers, as you see, like California, the union, and now you see with the Janice case with the union. A lot of people don't want teachers. A lot of parents don't want teachers with tenure because it protects not only good teachers, but it protects bad teachers as well.
It's hard to fire them.
It's very hard. And the next things that I'm going to state with him is going to be off the record first, and then we'll go back to the recording.
Okay, so you want me to turn it off?
Yeah, so we could have some time so I could show you, how everyone in the school knew.
So we took a pause so he could show me some videos of what happened to the student and everything, and now we're talking about it. Go ahead.
So they're expressing their feelings about this incident and how this has been going on for years.
Now we're talking about a teacher who's selling food outside of his classroom.
Outside his classroom. That it would be snuck in. Again, this is a teacher who has tenure. This is a teacher that there's state policies and laws against corporal punishment. When you put your hands on a student, when you frisk a student, when you push a student around, those are serious things. So when I bring these videos,
so this student, snatched a bag of chips, and the teacher reacted to the student and
very aggressively.
Yeah, okay.
And when
he ended up going through a glass.
Yes, cutting his artery. And I brought this to the attention. Now, it was mentioned when I was talking to the other lady that I orchestrated these videos. Now, I showed you the dates of these videos. These videos weren't filmed on different dates, weeks apart. These videos were filmed minutes apart on the same day, on December 5th. There's no way to orchestrate that. I didn't orchestrate the individual to cook food at home and bring it in. I didn't orchestrate him bringing the stuff through whatever entrance that they have on camera. Every entrance in Mount Vernon High School, they have on camera. They have enough evidence to say, look, regardless of tenure, you're out here. If this incident happened in Scarsdale, just think for this scenario. If this incident happened on Scarsdale, that teacher would have been out the door in the middle of the night.
And parents would have been up in a room.
That's right. But because they locked it down, they didn't expect me to have these videos. They told me I can't share these videos. Dr. Hamilton sent me a letter saying, cease and desist. You cannot talk to any student. You cannot talk to any parent in Mount Vernon. You cannot talk to anybody. You cannot share any correspondence, any videos that has voices of students, names of students, or that's in the property of Mount Vernon. How can I then prove all of this? Mm-hmm. You see, that's wrong. Now I understand it's very damning, but you know what's more damning? That you have teachers like this in Mount Vernon High School that don't give a shit about the kids, that just go there to get a paycheck, that will harm a kid over 25 cents, that will hide lab folders, that would deny kids to take their regents because they just don't like the kids.
Now let me ask you a question. So now as a teacher without tenure, they can fire you for any reason.
Exactly.
Why risk your job? Why not turn the other way like everybody else? Why until you get tenure? Why risk your livelihood?
Really, like deep down, because I was that kid. I'm the kids that I'm helping and I'm giving lessons to is the same kid I was when I was younger. When I was in aviation high school. When I was in junior high 56 in Sewell Park. I never had a teacher while I was in high school and in middle school that really looked out for me, you know? And in a way, by making these sacrifices, hopefully enough people will hear my message, will ask me to see these things, this evidence, and will eventually step in and do something. Now, it may not happen in a day, it may not happen this year, but eventually something's going to happen because we need better schools. This is not just in Mount Vernon, across the state. You know, a lot of our inner city schools, our urban schools, suffer because teachers come in and all they do is collect a check. This is a common thing. This is a real issue, you know. And I'm going to speak out, you know, and if it costs my job, that's fine. Because I know I have enough experience and enough knowledge that I could find something else to do. And while I'm doing that something else, I'm going to continue that message. And I'm going to continue advocating for our students.
So what's next? What do you want to see happen through all of this?
Well, I think we deserve, you know, starting here, I think we deserve better teachers in the school. You know, I think they should push out these individuals, revoke their certifications, because being a high school student, you have a lot of stresses, a lot of pressures, even developmentally. You know, it's a key age. So when you have someone that doesn't have the best interest of the student, you know, that does a lot more damage than them just passing a test. Emotionally, mentally, that stuff lasts for ages. Mm-hmm. So when you don't have the right people in the classroom, you know, that does more harm. And yeah,
so for parents and residents who will watch this and read this, that want to get involved, that may be outraged, what can they do?
Oh, what can they do? They, you know, call Dr. Hamilton. Ask him, why is nothing being done? Why is my student telling me, or my son or daughter telling me they can't take the Regents when Mr. Vasquez approved lab hours? Why do we have teachers in our district hustling our students? Don't they get paid enough? Now, you can look at all the budget report was just released the other day by Dr. Hamilton. You can see how much we spent on teachers. You can see how old the teachers are. You can see their ratings. If you go to the New York State Education Department data website, you can pull up all that information. And you see, last year alone, they had to de-hire about 70 teachers. You know, hopefully more numbers will come. You need younger teachers. You need teachers that are going to respect our individuals, our students.
So I'm trying to see, like, is there the step where you, I guess, take it to court or
well, that's stuff that I mean, if you get enough parents involved, they can have a class action suit and ask why nothing's been done to this teacher. Mm-hmm. You know, because this is not the only issue. You know, you also have teachers that were involved in the past with certain programs that they were profiting off of. You know, as a teacher, you're not supposed to be involved in programs being funded from outside the school. Mm-hmm. And profiting on that. Like, for example, if I have a tutoring program, mm-hmm. and we need to tutor our youth, and I suggest to X, Y, and Z that works in the Board of Ed or that's the superintendent, we should use this program, and I own that program, I'm not supposed to profit off of that. You know, those are state laws, those are policies. You know, so you have things like that has gone on in our district. Now, I can't attest to that it's still going on now, but it has. You know, and you know, this goes back to what you were saying. You had this amazing show Sunday that I was watching. How when I mentioned, you know, you have to invest in your community, then reinvest. When you have individuals like this, they're not investing in the community. their interest is not our students; it's their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they're going to retire soon, and they're going to have a fat check, and still top off our students. When you consciously say, look, I'm going to sell a plate of food for $8. How many of our students in Mount Vernon do you think could just come up and really just splurge like that? Here's $8
Every day, yeah.
every day, 40 plates minimum. That's over $300 a person's making off the books, not paying taxes. And then that student, if he doesn't have the money, is going to ask another student, "Let me borrow, or let me go into my mom's purse so I could look like, you know, I'm cool. That I got it. Yeah, I got. Oh yeah, I got the food too. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, y'all take some chicken. We're living like that. No, you don't do that.
So now we have a school board election coming up.
Yes.
3 seats, and school board trustees are making the rounds and stuff. With these situations going on, what should parents be asking them and trying to find that about so they can make an informed decision?
That's very good. First question parents should be asking. Now these are real questions. These are real good questions. I'm going to advise. One, how do we attract younger teachers? How do we attract younger teachers of color? How do we attract Hispanic teachers, Black and brown teachers, to want to stay and cultivate our youth and our students' minds? That's the first question. The second question is, how can we help support our students, not with sports? We have enough sports, we could always use more, but academically. What programs do we have outside of Mandela, Mount Vernon High School, after school, that helps our students academically? That's another good question. What would these board members, what would these trustees do for our students? Now, I know it's a very prestige position, but what are they going to do for our students? How are they going to invest in our students? What are they going to bring? Are they going to bring in new textbooks? Are they going to advocate every student having laptops or iPads or even STEM programs?
They're supposed to have the new structure of the different schools. One's going to be performing arts. One's going to be STEM. One's going to be, I forgot what the other ones are.
The performing arts, the STEM, that's going to start next year.
Right.
That's a beautiful plan. That's a step in the right direction, because now you have your specialities you could work on. So if a person's good in computers or sciences, they could go into a school like this and just specifically be groomed to learn more about the sciences. But this stuff that you could do, this informal practices. Here's another question parents should ask. How can we, again, this is going to investing in the community, how can we tie X, Y, and Z school program with our parks, with our buildings? How can we do things like that? For example, if you have a science program or you have an earth science teacher, and they're teaching about going green, how can they invest that into the community? How can we bring that to our households and into our parks? These are questions and these are things that other communities do, and that's how you invest in the community. Again, that's touching about what you guys were talking about on your show Sunday. When I came from the Bronx, we had programs like or Bronx River, billion oysters, where we would dump oysters into water, into the river to clean out and filtrate, to going green and to clean out the water. Mm-hmm. These are things that have to be done. You want to build the community. You want to, establish, this culture of love and support and education. How do you bridge what's going on in the classroom, in a school, with what's going on in our community? That's a great question that parents should be asking. How do I motivate my son and my daughter to take what he's learning and invest it in our community?
Anything I haven't asked you that you definitely want to get
Sure.
out? Any message? Anything?
Sure. Good. Can we stop for a second? I don't want.
Okay.
So where do you want me to begin now?
The regions. Talking about the regions, the changes of the grades, the teacher rating. And all that.
Yes.
Well, before I want to ask you a question. So, to be clear, you've approached Superintendent Kenneth Hamilton, and you brought this to his attention.
About the regents?
About the food and all the improper.
No. Everything was always in-house, meaning in the schools, approaching
Okay.
the administration in the school.
So you approached the principal.
Yes.
Okay.
And the admins in the school.
And nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Okay. So
At no point there was never a conversation like face to face between me and Dr. Hamilton.
Okay.
For all I know, Dr. Hamilton may never knew any of these things until he saw my emails with the videos.
Okay, so you then did send him, you did contact him through email.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and were the board members contacted or just
Yes.
him?
So in my email, I had because I as under education law 32 or 1 I think it is, I have the opportunity to present a rebuttal. So in the rebuttal, I had given them the videos. In the rebuttal, I had explained the situation. So in the rebuttal, the people that were attached was my union reps, Dr. Hamilton, the administration at Mount Vernon, and also the councilman. There's 3 councilmen in Mount Vernon. Lisa A.
Copeland?
Copeland.
Okay.
I could pull up the other names. Give me a quick second here, please.
Were at any point the board members
Of course.
Okay.
Yes. It was always my intention to give it to the board members, because how would I know if they're hiding this information while I was in the school? How I know that they're not going to tell the board members? For all I know, the board members may have never opened the emails, because they could just say, "Well, Mr. Vasquez, like the way they spun it, that he's going to shoot up the school. Mr. Vasquez probably put a virus in the email. Please don't open it."
Okay.
So I don't even know that they saw my rebuttal. I wasn't allowed to go to the board meeting. Let's see here. Review details.
Do you know when you sent the email to?
Oh yes, April 23rd.
Okay, that's when you sent it to everybody?
Yeah, I sent it to everybody on April 23rd.
Okay. Oops, your paper.
No, don't worry about it. I'll get it later. Okay, so like some board members, White, I got that. There was 2 other councilmen that I had sent it to.
So if I mention the councilman, will you be able to say yes or no?
Of course.
Okay, so you have Lisa Copeland, which you said yes.
Yes.
You have Janice Duarte. You have Councilman Andre Wallace.
Wallace, yes.
You have Councilman Marcus Griffin.
Marcus Griffin.
And you have Councilwoman Delia Ferguson.
And there was one more. Yeah.
Delia Ferguson.
Yeah, because there's 4. There was 4.
Okay, well, they're 5. They're 5.
On the 4, I know I sent it to 4.
Okay.
Because when you go to the Mount Vernon website, it's over there and it's like .cv.
CMV, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could pull up that when we go off. I'll pull up that so you can see the email and then being attached.
Okay, so you sent it to the city council. Did you hear anything back from the city council?
No.
Okay.
But there is evidence that they have opened the email and they might have saw the videos.
Okay.
Okay. So after I did that, I think maybe that it got back to them, and that's when I got a cease and desist letter from Dr. Hamilton saying that I'm not allowed to share the videos. I'm not allowed to talk to any parents or to the students. And I understand why, because this is damning evidence.
And as far as students with their names and stuff like that, there's privacy issues and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, but in the video, there's no students' faces.
Right. There's
no names.
I saw the videos. I didn't see any students named. Exactly. I didn't see any students' faces or anything. It was like of the floor or a desk, so it wasn't even.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know the legality. I don't even know if that's against FOPA laws or the student privacy issues, because I understand the laws. When I got that letter, I did some research, and the laws state that there has to be educational records. It can't be, face image of the students or names. So, that there might be a gray area there. So I don't know, but
What's your next step?
my next step, career wise,
With this case, with this situation,
with this situation, well, the next step is from now to my students take. I can't say my students anymore. But to my friends take the Earth Science Regents. I'm going to be tutoring them online through Facebook. I'm going to be sending them 2 to 5 minute videos explaining concepts so they could be successful. And then after that, when the summer comes, I'll look for a job, another teaching job. And I'm just going to keep spreading the word and telling individuals that, be cautious.
There's no legality or there's nothing wrong with you still tutoring the students that you used to teach.
If I'm putting the videos on Facebook and they somehow have access to the videos, there shouldn't be anything wrong with that.
Okay.
Because I want them to be successful.
Are you like tutoring them one-on-one, like in person?
No, not in person, just
Okay.
through Facebook. So if I make a video explaining the difference between the inner and the outer planets, they understand that video is for them to be successful. It's not like I'm reaching out to the students and saying, hey, this video's for you. Now, if they put a comment or they have a question, I will answer that question through social media. Because again, I want them to be successful.
Right.
I told them since day one, look, it's just a test, but it's a test that you need to pass so you could go to college,
And like I said, we had a student stop by. I turned the camera off, and he then told you that they're making him take the test over. And
Yes. So let's be more specific about that. It's not that they're making them take the test over. Is that in order to take the Earth Science Regents exam, you have to have a number of lab minutes that's required from the state, 1,200. And within these 1,200 lab minutes, you have to do a number of labs. We like to give it a minimum of 24 labs. So from September to the end of April, my students had completed, I'm not going to say all of my students, I'm going to say about 80% of my students had completed about 80% of the labs. So if they continue that and use the labs that were already completed, they should have no issue in getting permission to take the New York State Earth Science Regents. But from what I'm being told by individuals from Mount Vernon High School, and from what I'm hearing from students, that they're being denied the opportunity to take the Earth Science Regents because they're not including my labs. Now, my labs, according to state regulations, have a written component, was hands-on. It meets every criteria that is part of the Chancellor's regulations for them to take the exam. Why they're not including it, I don't know. There was an issue saying that I had the labs, but the labs are, I told the students where the labs are at. They see where the labs are at. There was a testimony from the student that was here, right? That He
Yes.
said, I saw the lady going through the labs.
Yeah.
So they know the labs are in the school now. The issue is that they're not letting the students use those labs to be in their portfolio, to be accounted for towards the lab requirement, which is a huge thing.
Is it common practice for a teacher who has been let go for the work he's done with the students that now been discounted?
No, it's not common practice. Even if a student, for example, if a student is in my classroom and he or she transfers to another school within the district. So if a student goes from, like, let's say Mandela has an earth science program, if they go from Mount Vernon High School to Mandela, that student takes their labs from that school to the new school and will show the teacher the portfolio on the labs that were completed. And those labs will be ticked off. Those hours and those lab minutes will be ticked off and accounted for to the accumulation of the 1,200 minutes. And then whatever labs that is, let's say if they have 400 minutes left, or they need 6 more labs, they do it with the new teacher, and then they'll take the exam. Okay. So I only been in 2 schools, but from what I know from other teachers that I had talked to, no, that's not something that's done.
So again, they labeled you a disgruntled employee.
Yeah.
and made it sound like there was chances that you might shoot up the school. And I found out from my own individual research that you're most likely a whistleblower who's been targeted.
Yeah, yes.
And I'd like you to speak a little bit on that.
Yes. Well, I have been targeted since, the end of June 2017. When individuals, a part of the Earth Science department, were grading our students' regions. When they were grading the regions, the practical, there were correct answers in the exam that our students have that they were purposely marked incorrect. So when we're grading, we were all sitting in the table together. I saw this happen a few times, and then I said, what? Let me mention it. Mr. Feidelman, that answer, that's a correct answer. Why are you marking it incorrect? He says, well, don't worry about it. I'm being very generous. You should be thanking me. You're going to have good numbers. I said, okay. So I let it go by. And I saw this pattern happening over and over. To
Only
a number
to
of
your
students.
students.
Only to my students. So they separated my practicals from all the other teachers' practicals. And they only allowed this one teacher to grade it.
And I just want to...
Sure.
It's not common practice for teachers to grade their own students.
That's right. It's not.
Usually, what?
Usually what happens is you pass off your exams to a different teacher, or you pass off 99% of the time you pass off your short answers, multiple choice, to a different school, because those teachers don't know the students, so there's no profit in them in marking the grades up, inflating the grades. In this case, my grades were being deflated, so the correct answers were being marked down. I reported it to the state. I still have 2 more reports I have to do. So that's what was going on with our students. So this year we have certain students, a number of students, that had to retake the Earth Science course and retake the regions when, in actuality, if it was rescored the first time, which was never rescored.
Or score properly.
Score properly. Even after I showed it to the administration, because Dr. Hamilton has the final word. By policy, he could come in and he could say, once this issue's known, we're going to take all these regions, everyone's going to regrade them, and we're going to rescore them. That was never done. They never looked back. I gave them the students' names, the students' identification numbers, and it was never done. It was just as is. Okay, it happened. Let's move on. The rest of the exams, that person won't grade.
Now, do you think this was an attack on the students per se, or attack because they were your students?
I think it was an attack because they were my students. Because when we were looking at the other exams, they were graded regularly. There was no inflation. There was no deflation.
And what would be the gain in deflating your...
Well, so there's a number of gains. The first gain is, because of the climate that we're in now, your test scores as an educator is tied to your APPR rating, which tells you if you're an ineffective developing or effective teacher. So by doing that, when everything is calculated, my rating will have gone down. So that's the first gain on their part. The second gain is, if my rating goes down and in year 1 my rating's like ineffective or developing, and in year 2 my rating's ineffective or developing, you're automatically